And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another morning coffee. I'm going back and forth with this because it's live on YouTube. I'm streaming over on TikTok. We got some people over there just to kind of get it going. And one of the things that really helps is if you subscribe wherever you're watching. Subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe over here on TikTok. Follow me. Help spread the word. The morning coffee thing, Nikki, welcome, is over on YouTube now. She's over on TikTok. This is just me talking. This is just me in the morning. If you watch the podcast, listen to the podcast, whatever you do, I typically do it over on, it's on YouTube, but on Monday I release a regular episode. So yesterday there was 2 episodes out. There's a regular episode, then there's this morning coffee that I've been doing, which today we'll see how long it goes because my wife works today. So when she works, she has to get up early and go. And I try to get up before she does and get the stuff done I need to get done. She's probably just getting up right now to get ready to go to work. And so if my son wakes up, I got to take care of him, which he's not been sleeping very well. It's a whole nother story. I think he's got acid reflux, so we're going to take him to the doctor and see what's going on because he is up early. I got up at, he woke me up this time because I get up at like 4:15, but like at 4:13 he started crying. So we had to go get him I had to give him a bottle and then put him back down. So he's back down right now, but usually he wakes back up. So anyway, I'm going to try and do this every single day for a while, like a month maybe is what my idea is, but just kind of talk to you about some of the things that I'm thinking about when I'm going through things, when I'm trying to navigate what's going on in my life. And there's a few things that are going on right now. I mean, it is what it is, and I'm working through it. And that term, it is what it is something that I've come to terms with because it really is. I'm going to have to adjust or navigate or do whatever that is to make it happen. So, I did some stuff. I've ordered some stuff for my studio to kind of upgrade it, but I'm also going to have to move out of my studio at some point and make a new one somewhere when we figure out where that's at and what's going on. It's funny, the emotions of like trying to sell something that you created and you built and you've done, purposefully. We built this house. We designed this house. We bit off more than we could chew, really. And that's what happened. And so now we are going to have to downsize, and it sucks. Like, I'm just thinking about like all the things, like, I think it's not that big of a deal to have to move to me, but what the problem is that it took so much to make it happen. It took such a long time to get moved. We purposefully did a lot of things for a couple of years, saved some money, sat down, designed the house. It took 6-7 months to build the house, but it took us 2 years to get to the point where we could build it. So we waited a long time. And so it kind of we had a lot of patience in the things that we were doing, just knowing that the end result would be this. Then it's going to change, but we're at peace with it. The problem is that we've gone back and forth multiple times. My wife and I have conversated about how much we had to do in order to make this happen. And then now it feels like going backwards, but we're not. Like it's like we talked about yesterday and I called it, I can't remember what I called it, but it's a hedonic treadmill is what it is. I called it the hedonic treadmill, or I called it the hedonic, what did I call it? Hedonic wheel. It's a treadmill. Like you're on the treadmill and you're trying to get to these goals of where you're at. And sometimes you have to get off and take a different direction. So right now we're taking that lateral step to move forward. And so it's difficult. It's hard to understand because you want things to happen so much. So today's topic is going to be about patience, and hoping, because that's where I'm at right now. I need to be patient in what's going on. I've thought about a lot of things through the years and how I want things to happen so quickly and they don't. This podcast is a great piece of that patience because I know that a podcast isn't going to be something that's going to get me I won't be able to live off this. Like, I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm not Lewis Howes. I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not these guys that have these big old podcasts and anyone who listens and sponsors are calling left and right and all that stuff. But it'll happen, right? Like, it's going to happen. So I've been patient with that. Like, I'm like, well, I'm doing this year and I'm doing this next year. And I'm going to continue to do it because it gives me an outlet, gives me somewhere to talk. It gives me like my peace of mind. And people don't understand that. Appreciate it, James. You guys are over on TikTok. James says, hey, you got to start somewhere, man. Just keep pushing. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're pushing. And I think that it's funny because like I don't think it's funny. Like, I think it's interesting because a lot of people think that what I portray on social media is that everything is perfect. And it really isn't. Like, and that's what most people are going through, is nothing is perfect for you. It's just what you're doing. It's what you're putting in place. It's what you're portraying because you have to. You have no other choice. And I think a lot of things, I talked to my wife yesterday about it because part of like being the way that I am, being so driven, I honestly, I've tried a couple times to maybe just get like some counseling or talk to someone about it because it wears on you over time. I had a conversation with someone yesterday and was talking about that. It's like, is it just me? Like, is it me? Is this a me problem? Because I am so driven. And sometimes I have to remind myself to have patience. And thanks, James. I appreciate that. You have to remember to have patience. And that's the thing. I, a lot of times, want things to happen so quickly that I force them. And I need to relax a little bit and let things happen. So I remind myself in ways like that, like patience is something that happens. But everyone goes through that, and that's kind of what this is about getting that voice out there so other people can hear that they're not alone, that the things that they want to happen but don't happen, or just don't force it. Be patient. So Gandhi's, here's some quotes, and this is kind of what I like to do. I like to think about, like, what can I think of that helped me to get through there? And again, this morning coffee, it is, I think it's Halloween, right? Today's Halloween. I'm dressed up as myself, I think it's Halloween. What do we got? Yeah. Nikki says, nothing wrong with being driven. Just give yourself grace. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, you have to realize to do that. And I think that that's part of my life, is that accepting failure is something that I talk about a lot, like accepting the fact that you didn't get it the first time, or that you need to do it again. Just like we talked about yesterday, like failure is an invitation to try again. That's where we're at. Like, things will happen. I'm young. One of the things I like about Gary Vee, if you've listened to Gary Vee, is he talks about that all the time. It's like, dude, you're so young. You have so much more to go. There's so much more time. James is over here dropping knowledge. He says, victory can't be achieved without sacrifice. We must sacrifice to make things happen. That is 100% true. This quote's by Gandhi, right? If you don't know who Gandhi is, he's said some pretty smart stuff. But to lose patience is to lose the battle. Okay, so once you don't have that patience, you start to do things that, kind of like I was talking about, like forcing them, expecting them to happen, by just forcing that to happen. And a lot of times you skip steps. How many of you have been making a piece of furniture, right? Like this, I've never been to IKEA, but I hear that IKEA furniture is kind of like, you buy a bookcase at Target and they have like 200 pieces in this bookcase, even though it's like, all you really need is two sides and like 4 shelves. But we're going to put these 2 pieces together because we couldn't ship them in a big giant box. We got to put them in a smaller box. So we found this way for you to put it together, make it better. But you get lost in those instructions. You're like, oh, this goes here. I can see this. This goes here. You get halfway through it, and then you realize you put the wrong piece in the wrong place because you didn't have the patience to read the instructions. And then there's that other person who reads every single instruction meticulously and still gets it wrong. But having that patience to just kind of read the instructions and know that it takes a little bit of work is always some tough stuff. So exactly. So patience, to lose patience is to lose the battle. Patience is bitter, but the fruit is sweet. Okay. So that's one of the things with patience is the reason why it's bitter is because it feels like it takes forever, right? I have to tell you something that's kind of funny. My little brother and I were talking about this because we still have to finish, like we have the fence to finish here and I've got to spray out the lawn and put some rock down and stuff like that before we can get everything sold. But he was talking about the fence at one point, and I didn't know that it was, like he always, I want the fence done now, right? Like, and I need his help, but he during the week can help me, and I have to work during the week, and during the weekend he can't help me right now. He may be able to help me in the next couple weekends, but anyway, that's beside the point. He told me, he goes, "Come on, man, chill out. Rome wasn't built in a night." I'm like, it reminded me of that line in the Justice League, and I can't remember what it was, but Ben Affleck's like, "That's not the saying. That's the opposite of the saying." It was like Rome wasn't built in a night. I thought that was kind of funny, but Rome wasn't built in a day. So it takes time. It takes time to create a masterpiece. Most people don't do it just like that, and if they do, it's because they've practiced over time. Yep, Rome wasn't built in a day. It was kind of funny how he said Rome wasn't built in a night, though. Let's see here. What do we got here? Knowing trees, I'll have to think about this one. Knowing trees, I understand the meaning of patience. Knowing grass, I can appreciate the persistence. So I think the thinking of that, like if you know a tree, right? Trees grow, right? Like we don't typically trim them. We typically let them just grow, right? And you don't have to do anything to trim them. Well, grass is something that you cut all the time. It grows. And when it grows, you cut it, right? Because it's too long. So when it gets too long, you go out there and you mow it. Well, what happens? The grass doesn't just quit growing, right? It continues to grow. Trees grow on their own, like they have to be persistent just to do one thing and keep going up, where grass has to like get knocked down and get back up again. That's kind of a great one. I like that. Hal Borland. I don't know who that is, but understand that, right? This was kind of understand me. You think about that. Think about your lawn. What does it have to do? You cut it, it grows. You cut it, it grows. It just, forget you, I'm going to keep going. Nikki had posted something up here about giving yourself grace, because I think that a lot of times we don't give ourselves grace because we expect so much of ourselves. And I'm so competitive with the things that I do that I expect to be on top every single time. And I'm not on top every single time, and I understand that. But what I always try to do is like reinvent the way that I do something so that I can be on top, so I can be the best one. And again, it can be kind of detrimental because I've learned to deal with it a little bit better, right? Like not being number one and then trying to be number one still. Like it doesn't let me go, but it does bother me a little bit. But this one here is have patience with all things, but first of all with yourself. And that's goes along the lines, and if you've been with me for a while, like if you've listened to most of my podcasts, you understand that taking care of yourself first is number one. When I think of my family, I think of, and it can be different for everyone, but for me, it's kind of like I'm the rock, like I'm the head, and my wife is right beside me, and then my two kids are below me, and then everything else is secondary. I have to make sure that I'm right so that I can make sure that I'm right for my wife, so that we can work together to take care of what's best for the kids. And yesterday I kind of had this epiphany that I need to make some sacrifices for my family. And the thing with that is that I have to be willing to look outside the box. Like a lot of things, like there's some selfishness in wanting to stay here because I built this. I could do lots of things. I could find something else to do. I could find some way to pay for it. But am I doing it just for me? Is it the best thing for me, or is it the best thing for my family? And for the first time in a while, I looked at my wife and I go, what I need you to tell me what you want, because is this just about me? Is this about me wanting to be more, wanting to be better, and am I being selfish? Because what really is important is you guys. And I'm one of this core unit of 4. And I have to realize that there are other people that this affects than just me. So like my unhappiness with something affects other people too. But do I just need to change a little bit because I need to do what's best for my family? And that's kind of the conversation that we have. And the problem is that I want to do what's right. My wife kept saying, I want to do what's smart. And I'm like, I get that. Well, the reality is if we stay here, we're going to be scrunging and scrounging to live, right? So we're going to have everything we need, but we're going to be uncomfortable. And do we really need all of this? Do we need to be that uncomfortable, or should we be smart and be uncomfortable in a different way for a while? Because if we lower our house payment and move into a house that costs a little bit less, then we can pay off all the bills that we want and then later on have enough extra money to do this again and be more prepared for it. Because we weren't prepared for a lot of things that are going on right now in this country. Like, you're not prepared for inflation that's not going down. You're not prepared for 7% interest rate and those types of things. And it's all relative, no matter what size of house you live in, no matter what income you have, where you work, it affects everyone in different ways. And I can tell you that there's a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck because I know that. We just got comfortable, like you get the things that you want, and we have some bills coming up that we have to pay. And so the best thing for us to do is to sell so that we can get in a different bracket and have income and pay those things off so that we can get ahead. And then once we're ahead, I mean, and that's the thing. Sometimes you just don't think. You expect things to happen. And that's part of being a dreamer, like knowing that no matter what happens, you're going to be better and better and better every single day. You can see it happen. But right now, it's a lateral move. It's a lateral move to move forward. Let's see. All right. So this one is a pretty decent one here too. Maybe that's why life is so precious. No rewind or fast forward, just patience and faith. Something that I've had to revisit a long time. That I've had to, like, I've always had faith, and patience is patience is a virtue. I sound that condescending, but it's the truth. It's like you act like it's a joke because you think that everything is just going to happen, and it's patience is something that has to come by. You have to learn how to do it, but faith actually helps you. 2 things that define you: your patience when you have nothing, and your attitude when you have everything. Say that again. 2 things that define you: your patience when you have nothing, and your attitude when you have everything. That's pretty powerful right there. Okay. So when you have nothing, you want everything really quick, really fast, right? So you have to decide that you have to be patient, and it's not going to happen overnight. And when you have everything, what do you do? And a lot of times it's like what not to do. I feel like that's what this quote is saying. Your patience when you have nothing is like everything is over exaggerated. It has to be done quickly. You have to move fast. You have to do all these things to make this stuff happen. It'll slow down time, right? Like, it'll slow it down, and it'll make you have anxiety because it's not happening fast enough, because you have nothing and you want something, and you don't know how to get there, but you're working on it. So you have to be patient and figure out how to work through that and work on it and work it out and get it done. But when you have everything, time seems to slow down, right? And then when it gets taken away, you're back to patience again. So like, if you can figure out a way to have that balance in between there. All right, we're going to do one more, and then I probably better go. And you guys can check out these morning coffees. They're like daily episodes. I'm going to have to open a Spotify account to get the audio up, but this is all on YouTube Live too. Make sure you subscribe if you would like to check those out. Hit the bell and you'll know that when I go live every morning. I've been doing this at 5 o'clock my time every morning. All right. Oh, this is a good one right here. Okay. This is from Confucius. And this, I think, is a great one to end on. My cup of coffee is almost gone. It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. This always brings me back to a podcast that I listen with Lewis Howes and Chad Wright. And Chad's a Navy SEAL. And he also does all these ultra marathon runners, just like who we talked about, David Goggins, yesterday a little bit. And these ultra marathons are crazy. They're like 100 miles through the mountains, through the woods, through the sticks, whatever. And you could get right off the bat, you know, if you didn't train for it or whatever, but you have the goal of getting there, you have to figure out how to do it. And no matter what, like, it's funny, you listen to David Goggins, he went back and he finished a race when he was done, or when he quit. Like, he quit and then he went back and he finished it. And the time didn't count, but he finished it. And then he went back the next year and he did the whole thing. But when you're trying to move forward, a lot of times it goes a lot slower than you want it to, and you can get discouraged and you can quit and you can stop. But Chad said, you know, this is what I do. When I get to a point where I don't think that I can go on anymore, I pick a point in front of me. And it could be a tree, it could be a rock, it could be a stick, it could be something. And it could be 10 feet, it could be 20 feet, it could be 100 yards, it could be a mile. But I pick that point and I try to get there. And when I get there, I pick another point. And then I keep going. And I pick another point. And I keep going. So today, think about that. All your goals, all your endeavors, it doesn't matter how slowly it goes, as long as you don't stop. Find that point in front of you and just keep going. Keep moving forward. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning. You can listen to all the podcasts on anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, blah, blah, blah. There's tons of those things. You can find it anywhere. Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley. You can go to the YouTube and subscribe, Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley, trying to grow that thing. That's where, you know, we're doing this live here on a couple different places, but please go to there, subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, like, share, and review, you can do that on Apple Podcasts. You have to listen to a couple of them on Spotify. If you would like to support the show, you know, maybe buy me some coffee, go to the Patreon and you'll get some bonus episodes there. If you sign up, it's $3 a month, pretty cheap. There's tiers of what you can get and shout outs and things like that. So Nikki is in here. She is one of my Patreons, and thank you, Nikki, for supporting the show and all that you do. And until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success. We'll talk to you tomorrow.